Great. Well, thank you. Thank you again, everyone, for joining. We're really excited to tell you more about Sonder Creek. This is an info session that will go over all of our grades. And the goal of this info session, of course, is not to answer every single question that one might have, but to give you enough information about our school to see if this is something that you want to pursue further or not. Our info session, we're planning for this to be about an hour this evening, but just to give you a update of what's going to come ahead. We'll talk about the school and the program. I then have a number of teachers from Sonder Creek on the call this evening that are going to go over some of the things that they do in their classes and some of the things that they think makes the program special. And we're going to go in order more or less of the grades at our school. So we'll start off in the younger grades and work our way up. After we've had a chance to introduce all of our teachers and to have each of our teachers go over a little bit about their program, we're going to talk about the admissions process and what next steps are. And then at the end, there are some frequently asked questions that we get all the time. And so I will address those, and then I will open it up to the audience. My name is Ryan Perez. I am the founder and the headmaster of Sonder Creek Academy. Some basic information about our school. So we were founded in 2020. This is our second year as a school. Last year, we were more or less 100% online. We had a little bit of in-person activities, but we were more or less an online school last year. This year is our first year in person, and we're having a great year. Our students are really excited to be in school. Our teachers are really excited to be back in school. And we're really excited to have the community together. We go from junior kindergarten all the way up through 8th grade. We have students in all of those grades. This school year, we have right around 110 students. We have 17 teachers on our team. That comes out to about a 6-to-1 student to teacher ratio. Of course, the number of kids in each class will be a little bit different than that, but overall as a ratio, that's what we have this year. And then we have another few individuals who are part of our administrative and support staff, both helping to run the school and helping to run our before and after school programs. We are one school. This year, we have 3 separate campuses, and we'll talk about that. But our goal is to move into a single campus as soon as we can. For anyone who is interested in our locations that we're at this year, those are all on our website, the Unity campus, the Shell Ridge campus, and the Faith Christian Fellowship campus. We are in the process of trying to acquire a property in Pleasant Hill that we'd move into for next year. And so if any of you are interested in looking at what a potential commute may be, that campus is at the JFK University campus at 100 Ellenwood Way. And we'll talk more about that in the frequently asked questions, but that is something that is in process. And if we're able to get that deal through with the city, then that's where we'll be for next year. And if it happens that the city does not approve our project, then we're happy to be at the campuses that we're at this year as we move into something different down the road. Some of the core tenets of our program. And so we want to let people know what makes Sonder Creek a unique school. We want to focus on the unique needs of each student. And what does that mean? So every student in our program and otherwise, they have different strengths and weaknesses, and they need challenges in different areas. And we want to make sure that we're providing the right challenge to each student in a way that is stretching them appropriately. We do that through having smaller class sizes. So as I mentioned, our student-to-teacher ratio is very low. In our homeroom class, classes will be around like the high teens or the low 20s. But then when we have math and reading groups, we split into even smaller flexible groupings that are really able to push students into the curriculum that they're ready for. We want to help all of our students reach their potential. And what we talk about as a staff is having a high floor and no ceiling. And so what that means is our curriculum is designed to be deeper and more engaging and more challenging than what you would find in California state standards. That's true for all of our students in all of our classes. We then have a number of students who are ready for material that is even a grade ahead, be that in reading or writing or math. A lot of students are ready for material that is a grade ahead. And so we're able to do that by having students who are ready for it be in a separate class with students who are also ready to have material that's more challenging. We want to develop students' many talents and to help them find what they're interested in. Not every student is interested in every subject, and that's totally okay. But we offer a rich curriculum. So we have a STEM program that all of our students experience. We have art that all of our students experience. We have foreign language with a choice of either Mandarin or Spanish. And we feel that by offering a wide array of classes, every student will have something to be excited about during the day, whether that's math or fun activities in PE or robotics that they're doing in the STEM program. We want to make sure that students find stuff that they're interested in. We as a school are proud of the different perspectives and backgrounds that we bring, and we want to expose students to a wide array of people and cultures and international topics. And one of the ways that we do that is not only through intentionally promoting diversity in our student body and staff, but also in our curriculum, making sure that while of course we want students to understand their local community, that we also want students to have a wider appreciation of the world. And our investment in our foreign language program is part of that. We really look forward to building out that part of our school as students can use language to learn about other peoples and places. In addition, we also want our students to have a positive approach to learning. We know that learning in school is not just what it was when I was growing up. Reading and writing and math, of course, are the core tenets of a program. But for students to be healthy, well-rounded individuals, they need to learn how to learn, and they need to learn how to be happy, and they need to learn how to deal with adversity. And so we deal with that directly by having a positive psychology course as part of our school. We very much believe in helping our students foster and develop their own growth mindset. Your approach to learning is just as important as any raw ability that you may have. And by helping students develop a healthy approach to learning, they're going to be more successful inside and outside of the classroom. And then in addition, we want to make learning meaningful. And what does that mean? Students want to feel like the learning that they're doing in school connects to their lives. And they want to know that they can be spending more time on subjects that seem relevant and interesting for them. But it also means that within a subject or within a class, students should be excited about the questions they're answering and excited about the problems that they're solving. And so education for us is not a memorization of rote facts. It's not designed to, score well on standardized tests, although our students do. We want the lessons that students are learning to be exciting and engaging. And we feel that an inquiry-based approach and a problem-solving based approach is one of the ways to help do that. And so at Sonder Creek, you'll definitely see what you may call traditional academic type work. We of course have textbooks, students do have worksheets, but at the same time, we also have a lot of projects in our school that is really allowing students to combine and apply what they're learning in a way that some schools, or at least when I was growing up, didn't focus on as much. And through our program, we're just really confident that students will feel prepared and confident for the next challenge. And if you were to stay with us all the way through to 8th grade, that means that your students would be prepared and confident to succeed in high school if that's the next step. If you have students who matriculate out due to moving or anything else, that their next challenge, they're going to feel like they're ready for it. And so our challenging program is a way to help prepare students for what they're going to meet next. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the different grades that we have. I'm going to show you an illustrative schedule of like a junior kindergarten class. This is what our students do now. I call it illustrative because in this age, we don't force people to stay right on the clock. If an activity is running longer, the teachers have the flexibility to make it go a little bit longer. Or same thing, if an activity is just not working, a teacher's free to move on to the next thing. But a typical day will include circle time in the morning. Reading and math are part of every day because even in junior kindergarten, we're building literacy and numeracy skills. Our junior kindergarten and kindergarteners, they have Mandarin twice a week and Spanish for twice a week. As you get into 1st grade and above, students select one or the other, and they do Spanish or Mandarin 4 days a week. But in this age, they're getting both. We have a lot of movement in our class. So whether it is yoga or a different PE activity, we're making sure that kids are moving around. And then students, even in our junior kindergarten and kindergarten classes, are also introduced to our STEM program. And so even at this young age, Students are practicing coding. Of course, it's much simpler than what they're doing at other levels. Our engineering program within our STEM program has hands-on activities for students of this age, and we really want to get them involved that way. You'll also notice that in our junior kindergarten and kindergarten schedule, the class periods are a little bit shorter, and we make sure they have a lot of activities to do during the recess and breaks. And with us today is Miss Denise, our junior kindergartner teacher.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As Ryan said, yes, I am Miss Denise. I am the junior kindergarten teacher. I've been teaching between junior kindergarten and kindergarten for about 21 years. So they are my people. I love them. But the things that we work on in junior kindergarten is letter recognition, letter sounds, correct formation of letters, knowing when to use uppercase and lowercase letters. And we do all of this by not just sitting, but we have movement, we have songs, we have poems, we practice writing our letters in the sky. We do sky writing. We do Play-Doh. We have dots and stamping. We do all kinds of fun stuff. It's not just sitting and copying your ABCs. We're also starting to begin learning how to blend short CVC words out of the letters that they know so far. They're learning how and able to blend AT words. So that's an exciting thing, and they're very excited about that. They feel very big and very grown up. As far as math goes, again, we're learning our numbers 1 through 20. And we do that daily, starting even in circle time when we do our calendar. Every day we turn over the numbers. We talk about what was yesterday, what will tomorrow be. We count. And then as far as math, learning the numbers go, we have poems that go with the numbers. And again, Play-Doh is a big thing. We have counters, and we do a lot of games on the floor. And so it's very fun. It's getting up, it's moving around. It's not just sitting behind a desk. And I feel like my kids are learning a lot, and they're having a lot of fun. And I would love to see some more of you.
Great. Ms. Denise, thank you so much. In our lower school, students are now having classes in periods. And so they will have a room, and the teachers rotate. So the STEM teacher will come to their room, or the language teacher will come to their room. But starting in our lower school through grades 1st through 4th, students now have more specialized time blocks. The biggest difference in the schedule between the junior kindergarten, and then when you start into the lower school is, as I mentioned, language students will pick either Spanish or Mandarin, and then they will have that language for 4 days a week. We do language 4 days a week because we feel like that is the best way to actually learn a language. I know there's a lot of programs, not just here, but all over the country, that have exposure of either 1 or 2 days a week. And we just find that that's very difficult to actually make progress. And so the goal of our language program is not to only expose students to a language, but to really help them actually learn it and be able to communicate in it. And so because of that, our program is taught in the language. So if you observe either our Spanish class or our Mandarin class, the teacher is not using English, or maybe in the beginning of the year, they use just a little bit, but then they transition out of that very quickly. And we focus on listening and speaking much more so than memorizing grammar rules. And so that's something that's different about the schedule as students get a little bit older. Science and social studies will alternate, so students will get both of those. Sometimes that looks like having it 2 days 1 week and then 2 days the other, or some teachers will find it's more effective to teach a unit of science or a unit of social studies, but they do get each. One of the things I wanted to point out is our STEM program and our science program are separate. I know the S in STEM stands for science, but our science program has its own curriculum. It is also quite hands-on. And so in a typical science lesson, there may be an introduction to the unit, which is done either by class lecture or textbook or video, et cetera. It's, trying to introduce students to a concept. But then there will be a hands-on activity where the students are either doing the experiment or making the observation. And so that's hands-on as well. And so between our STEM program and our science program, there's a lot of opportunities for students to, again, not just be behind a desk reading a textbook, but to get out and actually be engaged in a project that's more interactive. Our English language arts program is reading and literature and grammar and writing. One of the things to point out, you saw there are really low student teacher ratios. When we do either math or ELA, the English language arts, we have a specialist reading teacher or a specialist math teacher that will come in. And so the class ratio is essentially divided in half. And what we do by having two different teachers is we can pull out different groups to be working on just different content. As I had mentioned, most of the students in our program, the on-grade work that we're doing is quite challenging. But then we have a lot of students who are a grade ahead, and not every student's a grade ahead in each subject. So you could be, on grade in reading, but maybe ready for more challenging math material or vice versa. And by having specialist teachers who come in for reading and math, we're able to have students go into the right group so they can be working on the right course material. And the smaller student teacher ratios with the flexible groupings really helps us to do that. After the school day is over, so our organized part of the day goes from 8:30 to 2:30. Students have about a half an hour for homework room, and then is our free play in the afternoon up until 4 for students who stay with us. So most parents will pick up between 3 and 4. If you pick up earlier than that, that is okay, but you might be taking your student out of homework room a little bit earlier. But tuition covers up until 4 o'clock. And then for any parent who would like aftercare, we do offer aftercare from 4 to 6. And so again, this is a little bit of what a lower school schedule looks like between first and fourth grades. And I would like to introduce you to one of our teachers in the lower school, Mrs. Mahoney.
There, like Ryan said, I'm April Mahoney. I have been teaching for 27 years. Prior to Sonder, my previous school, I was there for 25, and then 2 more years, or 1 year at Sonder, and now I'm into my second year. So I've done anywhere from kindergarten. I'm in 3rd grade currently. I've taught 4th grade. I did small groups. So I've kind of had a good combination of different ages and whatnot. And this year I'm back in 3rd grade. As Ryan had said, a lot of what we do in 3rd grade is no different. Is we do projects to go along with some of our learning. Again, we start with the textbook and whatnot, and then oftentimes we will follow things up with a project. And one I wanted to share with you was a math project that we did. It was following multiplication, and at the end of that unit, it was combinations and finding different combinations. Like if you're making a pizza, how many different pizzas can you make with this many toppings and this many, types of dough and whatnot? Well, we decided to do what all kids love, is ice cream. And so they had to pick 2 different vessels, like what kind of cone did you want, a cup or a cone? 3 different types of ice cream. They got to choose which kind of ice cream they wanted to, choose from, and then 4 toppings. So we did the whole chart. We did a bunch of different ways that we could come up with the combinations, not only, figuring out mathematically how many combinations, but actually writing it out and coming up with those 24 combinations. We then carried that on. They got to choose their favorite combination that sounded the best to them. And this was over a couple of days, mind you. We created an art project that went with it. So they actually created with paper, construction paper, art supplies. They created that combination their Sunday. We put values to it, money values on each item. And so they had to figure out different costs that it would be for each different combination. So that brought in the money part of it. And then a final supplemental activity on top of it was we actually made ice cream in the classroom. And so that kind of brought in the science. It brought in, we were talking about chemical, how the salt makes the ice so much colder, and that's what makes it freeze so much faster. And it was just really a fun project. They all brought in their own toppings, and that's kind of how we finished off the project. And I just find that kids really learn a lot better when they kind of get their hands into it. It's something tangible. Those kinesthetic learners really thrive from that. And not just with math, but in my science and my social studies program, as Ryan said, we have really fabulous science kits that come with different experiments for every single topic. And so after every topic, after you've done kind of the book learning, we go ahead and we get our hands dirty, if you will, and we actually do the experiment. We pair up and we really put it to use, and they can really see that science come to life. And same thing with social studies. There's always some kind of a project that really ties it together. So in third grade, it just keeps it fun. It keeps them learning, and we really enjoy it. So that's a little bit about third grade.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Mahoney. And another one of our teachers in our lower school is our second grade teacher, Mrs. Little.
Hi, everyone. I'm Courtney Little. I've been teaching for just over 13 years, and I've taught from kindergarten through sixth grade. I'm currently enjoying my fourth year as a second grade teacher. In second grade, just to piggyback on what Mrs. Mahoney was saying, we actually recently completed a math project too. I feel like all grades had these math projects going on at the same time. But ours was building an array city. So students got to choose their size building and form different arrays out of their window cutouts. And they were able to demonstrate their knowledge of arrays being associated with repeated addition. Many of the students are going beyond that second grade standard and learning that arrays also represent multiplication. So they're very excited that at the beginning of second grade, they're already learning some multiplication. And that's always just seems like a big rite of passage for them. But it was great for them to see and understand how math can relate to their everyday lives and the world that they see around them. We've also been working a lot on our writing skills, and it's been really fulfilling to see their growth. This year, we're using the same writing rubric system school-wide. And what I'm really enjoying about that is it allows me as a teacher to keep better track of my students' growth and their progress and identify more specific strengths and weaknesses. And it also helps all of us as teachers recognize which students might be performing slightly below grade level in writing, but also the ones that are performing above grade level. So having this new school-wide rubric system allows us to see, maybe I have a second grader that in a narrative prompt, they're writing at a third, or even by the end of the school year could move to a fourth grade level, and it allows us to assess based on that. The other thing that we're really excited about in second grade is that after the holiday break, we are going to start learning cursive. Cursive has been shown to help improve children's cognitive development and fine motor skills. And it's something that I always like to mention on these info sessions, because I feel like when I haven't mentioned it, parents ask, do you teach cursive? And the second graders love it. They see it as kind of a second grade rite of passage. I love that teaching at Sonder Creek allows me to teach to a smaller group of students. As we mentioned, our small homeroom size and our small breakaway class sizes for math and reading groups. And this really helps me as a teacher form better connections with my students and better understand their unique learning styles. And that allows us to provide more individualized instruction that, I've taught at multiple public schools as well, and having over 30 students in a classroom, that makes it really challenging. So I love that I'm able to do that here. And I also love how close-knit our team of teachers is, and how well we work together. It not only provides a good work environment for us, but I think it allows us to work together as a team, and that only benefits the students even more. So that's a little bit about second grade and just what I like about our school as a whole. And yeah, thanks for being here. I'll turn it back over to Ryan.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Little. I want to just follow up on the writing rubric real quick because it's just a good way to illustrate some of our approach to what we're trying to do. So as Mrs. Little mentioned, we have a rubric that helps us to understand different levels from kindergarten all the way up through 8th grade for writing and for different types of writing. And what that means is when a student writes a paper, we're not just saying, oh, you're in 2nd grade and this paper is really good for a 2nd grader, so you get an A and then we're done with it. No, we're saying, hey, if this is what you wrote, we're understanding where you are. And then that teacher's goal with that student is trying to get that student to the next level. And so it's not, hey, you're doing good enough, we're going to focus on other kids now. It's for each student trying to help understand where they are. And so you have some students who, again, on like a narrative piece of writing, or maybe writing right where they should be. And other types of writing, there may be ahead or behind. And so that way a teacher is not just, again, trying to like move the class average up, it's trying to help each student move up. And the benefit of us doing that as well is that when our students then go to the next grade the next year, that next teacher is not starting from zero. They're looking at the same rubric and they can see the same writing samples of where a student has been. What most schools do, and this happens at every school, including ours, is the beginning part of the year, every teacher's trying to figure out where their students are. And that's just a feeling out process. And so the more that we can do to help everyone hit the ground running of this is where we are, it just creates a different experience that's focused on, again, not the class, but the unique needs of each student. So this is then an illustrative schedule for our upper school. The biggest differences here between what you saw in the lower school and the upper school is starting in 5th grade, the school day is a little bit longer. So the last organized class goes until 3:30 versus 2:30. The main difference subject-wise is students have a full period of history and a full period of science, whereas in the lower school, it flip-flops about half a year each. When they're in the upper school, they have a full year each. It's the same philosophy, though, in terms of really trying to help each student where they're at. And so, for example, our students in math class at the upper school, it's not that every 5th grader takes 5th grade math and every 6th grader takes 6th grade math. Students are able to assess into higher level classes. And so a lot of our math classes in the upper school will have students from 2 or potentially 3 grades in it, because we're trying to have the students, experience the program that they're ready for. And same thing, that's a little bit different for every student and every subject. You have some students that might be on grade level in their literature program, but potentially ahead of a grade level in their math program, or vice versa. And that's what we want to support. Students in our upper school are also taking either Spanish or Mandarin 4 days a week. And they're also exposed to the STEM program that is engineering and coding and robotics. What we're asking students to do at this level is more advanced than, of course, what we're asking students to do at the lower level. But that program continues throughout our whole school and builds on itself. And we have a few of our upper school teachers on the line as well. And I would like to introduce you to Mr. Crow.
Hello, everyone. I am Mr. Crow. Thanks for being here and checking us out. A little bit about me. I am not originally a teacher by trade. I spent 7 years as a journalist at a newspaper in my hometown of Tucson, and then another 7 years as an editor at a sports girls, and decided to sorry, it's telling me my internet's a little wonky, so my apologies. Decided to switch career paths and follow what my dad did for 40 years, caught the bug, and I love teaching. I've had a few stops already. I've been at a couple places in the Mount Diablo Unified School District, including El Dorado Middle School and Mountain View Elementary. I was at Palmer for a year, and now I'm at Sonder, and I'm very excited about how this thing has started and where it is headed. It is a tight-knit unit, like Courtney said, within the teachers, which is great. Highly collaborative, a lot of discussion about the best ways to kind of ensure success with our students. With the small class sizes, it allows the teachers to teach rather than wrangle, which is a huge positive. And yeah, and we're able to pinpoint strengths and weaknesses and learning styles, and spend a lot of time with each student, which is pretty unique. So what I teach, I'm the 8th grade homeroom teacher, 8th grade English, 8th grade American history, 7th grade math, 6th grade world history. So I get a lot of variety in my day. I love projects as well. That is the prime means of keeping kids engaged. A couple highlights in each class. World history, we just finished a cuneiform clay project, which was a hit. We did an ancient Sumerian real estate advertisement, which was a great way to absorb the material and also show off some artistic abilities. In English, we finished a personal narrative where the 8th graders zoned in on the biggest moment in their life so far, which was entertaining and also a little bit heavy at points as well. But it was really cool. I've been with this group of 8th graders for a few years now, because I had them the last couple years, and it's been really neat to watch that progress. We're currently reading Chris Grimley's graphic adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. We'll be moving on to the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, and then Shakespeare. We're hitting Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, to wrap up the year. In American history, we just finished a colonial town hall debate where we went back several hundred years to determine whether we should go to war with Britain. We stepped into the shoes of the loyalists and neutralists and the patriots and decided amongst ourselves whether it was time to revolt. So that was a lot of fun. We've touched on we did a unit on the Native American occupation of Alcatraz. We just did some American Revolution capture the flag the other day. In math, we did slope art. Probably so far that has been the biggest highlight for the students. We did a unit on running our own restaurant, so incorporated sales tax and tips and discounts and markups and all of that fun stuff. And then in a couple months, we'll be doing a unit on statistics and probabilities surrounding March Madness, which in years past has been a lot of fun. I really do enjoy teaching at Sonder Creek. There is a lot of freedom given to us by the administration to tailor what we do to what our kids enjoy. So I'm excited where it's headed, and I appreciate you guys checking out what we have going on.
Thank you, Mr. Crow. And one of the other upper school teachers on the call is Mrs. Lowry.
Great, thank you. Yes, I'm Mrs. Lowry, and I teach 5th and 6th grade. And I'm actually kind of like Casey. I kind of came to the teaching, my teaching career kind of later on. I worked as a marriage and family therapist for many years. And after working in my children's classrooms as a volunteer, I was like, that's what I want to do. So I went back to school and got my teaching credential, and I've been teaching for 11 years, mostly 5th grade, but this year I'm teaching both 5th and 6th grade. So I'm the 5th grade homeroom teacher at Sonder, and I teach 5th grade English and 5th grade history. I teach also 6th grade English and 6th grade math. So I love 5th and 6th graders. I've taught 5th grade for a long time, so it's kind of my wheelhouse, and I love that age. Some of the things that we're doing right now, we also had a pretty cool math project that we just finished. So the 6th graders actually just finished up $1 million project where they had to spend $1 million, which also included they had to put money away for their college tuition. So it was, and figure out if, 6 years from now, if you go to college, how much money you're going to have in your bank account. So they had to do compound interest. We had just finished a unit on percentages. So it was really very timely, understanding they had to add sales tax to all of their purchases, and their goal was to come as close to $1 million as they possibly could. And I would say I was very impressed. Some people actually found something for a penny on Amazon. So so we just finished up that project in math, and so that was a lot of fun, and just was a great way to kind of end the unit of percentages and make it a real life experience. A lot of times they don't understand how this is going to affect them later on. So it was a lot of fun. In history, we are, doing some fairly typical 5th grade projects, that is, they're doing their state reports right now. And so they're really excited about that and researching all of that. And they do their presentations on that next week. English, both my classes, the English program we have, I'm really excited about. It is so much writing. And I think the students are kind of like this all day. My hand's getting tired because it's just really focusing in on those writing skills. And I think that is very important. We just finished up a unit in 5th grade on personal narratives. And over the course of that unit, they wrote several personal narratives and really kind of honed in on how to focus in on a moment, and not just tell me about their entire vacation. So it was really great to see them progress through that unit. And in the 6th grade class, we've been working on argumentative essays, and they've just finished their second big essay actually so far this year. So they've actually been writing a lot, and there's writing incorporated in the program every single day. In 6th grade, we've also done some fun things, like they've done a lot of Socratic seminars, which is actually an opportunity for students to dialogue with one another about many different topics, getting the teacher kind of a step back and not be so engaged in what they're discussing. And it's really exciting. You give them something to research and talk about, and then you allow them to dialogue and have the conversation. And it's been real exciting to see some of the things that they've come up with, their own ideas that really are not dependent on my asking them to actually engage in something. They're really engaging with each other, which is really an exciting thing. We'll be doing some of that with 5th grade as well as the year goes on, but I've predominantly done it with the 6th grade English class. And they actually love it. It's very empowering to have the teacher step aside and just be the observer, and they're engaged in this dialogue. And it kind of gives them this really sense of, wow, I can really engage and talk about things that are really deep and meaningful. In all my classes, I start the beginning of the year with a growth mindset unit, and we talk a lot about that. And that's kind of one of those things that just the whole year hinges on those kinds of lessons that we had at the beginning of the year that you can continue to come back to. I even have students that'll say to me, well, Mrs. Lowry, I think that was, what I just said wasn't a growth mindset. And I said, you're right. And they'll talk about what they can do differently, or they'll be like, hey, I did it. I'm really focused in on having a growth mindset. So that's a really important way to start the school year, I believe, especially when you get any age, and 5th and 6th graders really get it and are interested in it. And so that's kind of what's happening with me. I'm really excited about Sonder Creek. As all the teachers have said, we have these smaller classes and are really engaged with the students. And, because of my background as a therapist, that whole child approach is really important to me. And this kind of setting really allows me to focus in on that. And thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Lowry. One of the things that I think also makes our upper school program just, I'd say, a little bit unique is, as you know, middle school and these ages can be a very awkward and difficult time for students. Like there's a lot going on, not just school, but other things in life. And so by having a smaller group of students, it means that our teachers and our faculty can really get to know them. And it means that there's always an adult on campus that a student can go to if they have an issue, whether it be anyway, there's different things that could be troubling that students want to talk about at this age. They know that they can have an adult to go to. Students don't just know the names of their teacher in this class, but the whole campus is such where we're not going to lose anybody, right? There's not going to be someone who's getting lost in the crowd, and our numbers support that, of just being able to make sure that everyone's having the right experience. We do have a uniform policy. So junior kindergartners and kindergartners, uniforms are optional, but from first grade on up, uniforms are required. We have a lot of different options, but we have found that, especially at these ages, not having to worry about what you're going to wear in the morning, not having to worry about if what you're wearing is better or worse or whatever than what your friends are doing. It just takes that level of stress out of the equation. And it really allows students to just be able to focus on, the school day during the school day, while trying to remove a bunch of different outside distractions. For example, like we don't allow cell phones on into the classroom. So we have students drop them off at the front office at the beginning of the day. They pick them up at the end of the day, and then they go home. And so we're just really trying to make sure that the learning environment is conducive to learning. So the teachers that you just talked about spend most of their time, with their grades. But we have 2 other teachers on the call today who are also going to introduce some of the classes that they teach. One of the things that I think makes Sonder special, and one of the things that we're trying to lean into as we grow, is the number of classes that we offer. And we want to make sure that as we're growing, we continue to roll out new classes. And so we introduced this STEM program this year. Ms. Perna is going to talk about the STEM program and what that looks like. As I've mentioned, that's something that everyone gets exposure to from junior kindergarten through 8th grade. And we're really excited to have this type of opportunity for our students. And so with that, I would like to introduce you to Ms. Perna.
Hi, I'm Prerna Sheth, and I'm teaching STEM right from junior kinder to 8th grade. And a little bit about me, I have over 7 years of experience teaching computer science and robotics. This is my first year at Sonder Creek, and I'm already loving it. Before that, I was working at Santa Clara Unified School District, and I have also worked at Dianza Community College for the summer program, and I was teaching Java and Python game design and robotics, as well as engineering. So here we have STEM around the year, and we have divided into 3 sessions, which is engineering, coding, and robotics. So right now, the first session with lower grades, they did coding, and upper grades, they did engineering. So let's go over a little bit about coding. So in coding, they learned about digital citizenships and basics of computer science. They worked through a greater variety of puzzles, art, games, and animations through code.org and Hour of Code websites. And this website is really meant for the California standard computer science, and with teaching coding early, the students will have a foundation of success in any 21st century career path. So keep that in our mind, and we have started coding right from junior kinder. So with learning coding, it will enhance their critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, and most importantly, with coding, they are going to learn computational thinking skill process. So in coding, they are learning how to decompose the problem, find the pattern, and how many times they need to repeat the same pattern to complete the goal. 3rd and 4th graders are learning how to write the function, as well as how to use conditionals in the program. In engineering, they are going to learn engineering design process. So engineering design process, they will learn how to define the problem, brainstorm their ideas, come up with their own design, and build the prototype, test and evaluate the prototype, redesign if necessary, and share the solution. So in that, how they solve the problem, what worked, what didn't work, how can they make it better, what if they get more time. then how they will solve the problem, and what is the next process in this one. Those kind of things they are going to learn in engineering. Upper grades, in this session, they have learned engineering, and they have learned 6 simple machines, and then they use 3 or 4 of them to make Rube Goldberg machine to complete the simple task, like pop the balloon, ring the bell, water the plant through series of chain reactions. And 7th and 8th graders have learned some NASA projects as well as circuits, and what are the different ways to use electric motor to build some real life machines like elevator, Ferris wheel, swing carousel, conveyor belt. And they really enjoyed making all these machines. They put a lot of efforts and research to build this engineering projects. It's amazing to see them every single day working hard, not giving up, because engineering is always like little bit frustrating when things won't work, but these kids are really putting a lot of efforts, and that's really wonderful to see. And third session will be robotics. So in that, they are going to use microbit. So this microbit is a pocket-sized computer that introduces students to how software and hardware both work together. It has many sensors and input-output features that when programmed, it interact with microbit. It has radio sensor, pins, and upper grades will also use a servo motor to build some robotics project. So the lower grades is not like they are going to use all the sensors, but yeah, of course they will make some good projects like beating heart and touch emotion badge, disco lights, sound meter, clap hearts, and how to make emotion badge, some hands-on projects with using this microbit. And the upper grade, they will make some projects like guitar, and robot out of some recycling material like milk can, and they are going to measure soil moisture, door alarm, and also the upper grades will make a Mars space rover, and they will use the microbit to send the messages and measure the temperature, not on the Mars, but inside and outside. And that's how they are going to communicate with microbit. So those are the things that they are going to explore in STEM.
Awesome. Well, Ms. Perna, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
One of the reasons that we think STEM is a class that everyone should take versus being a class that students opt into is, again, it's not because we think everyone's going to grow up to be an engineer or a web designer or that, but it's the skills that we're teaching in our coding program and our engineering program. They're problem solving skills, right? They're problem solving skills that students should have a really strong foundation in. And then what they do in robotics in the 3rd trimester is learning also how to combine skills in an interdisciplinary way, because they have to use some of the skills they learned in the engineering program during one trimester and the coding program during another trimester and put that together. And so application of knowledge is something that our students are also getting out of it, regardless of if they're ever pursue a career in engineering or not. We just think that these are core skills and we're really excited to be able to expose our students to them. And I had mentioned earlier that we also, we take the mindset of our students seriously, and we understand that them having a positive approach to learning is just an important part of them not only doing well in school, but just being well-rounded individuals. And so with that in mind, I'd like to introduce you to our positive psychology practitioner, Mrs. Singh.
Hi, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Thank you for your time.
I'm Mrs. Singh. I teach positive psychology, as Ryan said, and work as part of our leadership team with our teachers on curriculum, assessment, and offering teachers one-on-one sessions to support their flourishing as individual teachers. And in addition to teaching, I am an researcher. I'm currently researching flourishing educators and kindness in a global setting, what that looks like, and working with the International Journal of Wellbeing. And I also am a coach with positive psychology focus on coaching. And this year, with positive psychology being new for our school, some of the things that we're doing are starting parent workshops so that the content that we learn in class, our students can be shared with parents to help parents better facilitate the things that we're learning, better facilitate what's being learned in class and have that happen at home as well, with strategies that work at home and situations that come up in that environment as well. And for positive psychology classes, these are for junior kindergarten up to 8th grade. And the intention of incorporating positive psychology is to teach strategies and research-based practices to make our life better. So what that looks like in the context of students is focusing on character strengths, learning about our emotions, our feelings. We're going to have a unit on coaching as well. And some of the things that we're working on now are how to identify our feelings, learning that. Any questions for us? Thank you again for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Singh. Wanted to then talk a little bit about next steps. So for any of you who are interested in learning more, we have several different options to do that. We have, sorry, the slides are coming up again. We have campus tours that are available. And so we're happy to show you our campuses. Not only is it important just to, potentially see the school and everything else, but it's just a good way to get a vibe of what goes on during a student's day. You can see the class in action. You can see what the students are doing during the day. And, info sessions are always a little bit difficult in terms of just getting a feel for the school, but we want to welcome people to come onto our campus. We have 3 open houses that are coming up. Our junior kindergartners, and first graders are showing off some of the work they've done this year next Tuesday. Our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders are having their open house next Wednesday, and our 5th through 8th graders are having their open house on Thursday. Our current students will be there from 6 to 6:45, and then our prospective families will be there from 6:45 and as late as they want up until 7:30. At each open house, we will have some of our current families that would like to stay longer to meet potential families that come. And so if you're interested in mingling with some of our current families, as well as seeing some of our teachers in person, one of our open houses next week is a great way to do that. Lastly, if there's any other questions that folks have, of course, we're happy to respond to those either by email or setting up another one-on-one call as needed. Our round 1 applications are due January 8th, and then we have rolling admissions thereafter. And what that means is for anyone who applies on or before January 8th, we treat all of those of having arrived at the same time. There's no difference between when they arrive. But then we will start filling out our classes and with those students that applied, and we'll do rolling admissions afterwards. And so for a class that still has space, we're still happy to receive applications after January 8th on a space-by-space basis. We do have a few questions that normally come up, and so I just kind of wanted to talk about these in our frequently asked questions, and then we'll get to the audience questions. Our longer term campus plan. And so as I mentioned, we're a newer school. This is our first year being in person, and we're on person at 3 different facilities now. Our long-term goal is to be at one campus. Like we very much look forward to being at one campus. As I had mentioned at the beginning of this session, we're in the process of trying to acquire the JFK University campus that's in Pleasant Hill. And when I say we're in the process of trying to acquire it, every city in the Bay Area requires one to get a conditional use permit in order to run a school. The city of Pleasant Hill, like every other city, they're trying to look at the best use of a site, and also more importantly, how much traffic we're potentially bringing into a site. So we had our study session with the Planning Commission in Pleasant Hill to talk about our project in the summer. We got a lot of positive feedback, but were requested to do a traffic study, which we've then completed. And so we're just working with the city to try to push this forward. If it does go forward, then that's where we will be next year. That is at 100 Ellenwood Way in Pleasant Hill. But they're called conditional for a reason, and there's always a chance that the city would not approve our plan. And if that happens, that's life, and we will try to find another location that is suitable for all of us. And so we're really happy with the facilities that we have this year. We're going to be excited to be in person again next year, whether or not it's at our current locations or whether or not we're able to move into this new location. But the long-term goal is to move into one location that is in this area. The other question that we get a lot in terms is, what are we looking for incoming students? There is an application process. So we do need to meet and make sure that a student would be successful in the program. But in terms of what we're looking for, as you heard from the teachers on the call, our classes are challenging and engaging, and they work well when students are participating. And so we want to make sure that a new student would be successful in our program. Not every student needs to be ahead in every area, like that's not the point, but we also want to make sure that a student doesn't feel like they're struggling on the very first day that they join, like that would not be ideal. And so we're looking for students who are curious and interested in learning and want to be there and are ready to succeed in the program that we have. As far as, we're growing school, and as we grow, there will be different changes that come. And so we get to ask this a lot as well. The number one thing that I would say is we're excited about adding new courses and new offerings, right? So this year we added Mandarin in the STEM program and the positive psychology program that we talked about. Next year, we look forward to adding music. We don't have that this year, but we're really excited about adding it next year, whether or not during the day or in the afternoon. We have parents from a lot of different countries and cultures and backgrounds, and we've had other suggestions for in-demand language offerings if we're able to add them. In addition to that, even within our core areas, there are extension courses that you could also add. So for example, in math, there's not normally a statistics course in a lot of the programs around here, but in our upper school, we have some students who would be more than ready to specialize in that, assuming that we had enough demand in that area. So my point is now we're at around 110 students. As we grow, one of the ways that that's going to impact everybody is just seeing our course offerings expand, both in terms of what we offer during the day, but also in terms of what we're able to offer in the afternoons. And then as far as tuition, our tuition is posted on our website, but it's a fair question to ask, where's that going? What I tell parents is you should expect and kind of budget for an increase of around 5% a year. This year, our tuition went up by less than 5% over what it was last year. And so we're trying to keep it as reasonable as we can, but that's kind of what parents should expect. And so we have no intent of, having tuition just jump up, nor do we want to, raise it by 10% a year or anything like that. Although there's a lot of schools in this area that I know have kind of done that recently. We tell parents that you should kind of expect right around that 5% number if you are, projecting forward what it might look like in a few years. We do not ask for any donations. We don't do any donations for the school. We do have charities that we work with, outside of the school, but we don't fundraise for the school. Nor do we require volunteer hours. And so I know some schools do, they say, hey, you either have to volunteer this many hours or you need to, pay some volunteer fee. We don't do that either. The tuition that you see is for the program, and that covers your supplies and, the Chromebook that students have access to at school and those types of expenses. Our tuition does not cover uniforms. Those are purchased separately. And then just on that volunteering, there's plenty of opportunities for parents to be involved in the program. And so as we have social events or other school events, parents are more than welcome to be involved in the program, but we don't pressure everyone to say, hey, you've got to commit so many hours. We just don't feel like that's the right way to go about it. So if you have other questions, please do reach out. We are happy to get emails at admissions@sondercreekacademy.org. And as I said, we have some other events coming up as well, both tours and the open houses next week. With that, I thank everyone so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then we can get to any parent questions that are on the live call.